Yo, what's up, all you burner stones and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you doing?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks where you listen to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with some Vegas candy grown by Mr. and Mrs. Weedman.
Yay.
And the cut was given to us by our friend Midwest Terps. So Vegas Candy is a potent, roughly 60% sativa dominant hybrid strain with approximately 25% THC, known for its caramel, berry, and sweet candy-like aroma, and often describes in providing relaxing yet chill effects, ideal for creative and social situations. Genetics, often cited as a cross between Super Boof and Super Buffy Cherry 26. Appearances typically features vibrant green and purple tones with trichomes. Flavor and aroma, caramel, fruity, sweet candy notes. Effects, relaxing, calming, and subtle or chilling. Appearances typically features vibrant green and purple tones with trichomes. This is a delicious strain, everybody. It is so good. We haven't smoked it in a couple weeks because we moved, and this has been tucked away with all in my vault, my big box that we moved with where all my weed is in right now. So we've been smoking like 2 strains that I'd pulled out, and we've just been smoking those right now during this whole transition. But I had to pull the Vegas candy out because I missed it. And I know when I pulled it out, opened the Grove bag up, and Mrs. Weedman was like, oh, how much do I love this strain?
Huh. So much that I'm willing to choke over it. So good.
So Mrs. Weedman, though, is going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com, everybody.
Yeah, scoot on over to 8decades.com. That's EIGHT, not the number. Also the number, but spelled G. Maybe that's stoner talk. Did I just confuse everybody?
Maybe.
8decades.com. And there you will find our accessory line. We've got rolling trays, ashtrays, grinders, steamrollers, hemp clothing, tote bags, merino wool with hemp hats, beanies, and scarves, all sorts of wonderful stuff. Check us out. Free shipping on your first order if you sign up for our newsletter. I will be honest with you, the newsletter doesn't happen very frequently, so don't worry. You will not get inundated with a crap ton of emails. But check us out. You can also read about us, how we started the brand, why we started the brand, and what we're all about. You can also find swag for the Weedman 420 show.
Yay.
So head on over to 8decades.com.
And as we always say, you support 8decades.com, you're supporting the show. We get to put an episode together every week for you, so we appreciate all those out there who have supported us at 8decades.com. EIGHTDECADES.com, everybody. And check us out on there. So, well, we're in what, week 2 right now, or week 3 of this move?
I don't know.
Week 15?
What day is today?
I don't even know. Today is...
is there a holiday
coming up? Yeah, something's coming up. A couple of holidays coming up, I guess.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are still in the transition of this move, everybody. Demo work is still going on, so we are, but still coming at you with a episode every week. So, but it's been a fun ride. It's
yeah, okay. It's always fun when it's all over and you can look back at it and have a laugh.
Yes. We've had a lot of laughs.
Yeah. At the end of days when we collapse, we can chuckle at feeling old and feeling our age.
Yes. But it's been interesting. And Mrs. Weedman's been a trooper. She's been an ass kicker and a name taker and taking no shit from a lot of men that have given her shit.
Let me tell you, men. No,
yes.
I won't go there.
No, let's not go there down this road.
I won't get there.
We will one day. We'll let Mrs. Weedman do just a Mrs. Weedman episode to talk about how she gets treated by men. And the only thing I have to say is, hey, lady, go get the mortar at the store.
Tell the lady she can go get it for you. She can go to the store for you. The lady, the lady who's paying you gobs of money.
Now
to do a work.
Sitting in the same room while these conversations were happening
and
hearing these men talk about the lady, and I'm watching Mrs. Weedman, and I see the steam coming out of the ears and the head, and just the total, like, I've seen Mrs. Weedman get angry many a times, and you won't like it. Well, not.
Gosh.
We've been together 31 years. You've been angry more than once.
Yeah, there's been a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've seen you angry more than once. Right. So I've seen you angry more than once. Right. So I've seen you angry more than once. Right. So I've seen you angry more than once. Right. So I've seen you angry more than once. Right. So I've seen you angry more than once.
Yes.
Right. So You wouldn't like Mrs. Weedman when she's angry.
My words are not nice. I'm the first to admit it, and I am humble enough to turn around after the fact and say, "I'm sorry." But let me explain why that happened. So, yeah, I think if the tides were turned and women spoke to men the same way, I don't know, I think men would be like, "Oh, that's hot." But let me just tell you, men,
I think it's
just
hot.
treat women like you not like you treat the guys, but don't assume that women don't work. Don't assume that women don't earn money. Don't assume that women are only capable of shopping and cooking and cleaning. Please, we'll just leave it there.
Since, what, 2 Wednesdays ago when demo happened, you as being
I was the GC
right,
of
the general
multiple different
contractor.
contractors.
You hired
One
everybody.
contractor just couldn't understand that because all he cared about was him and his people and his timeline and his criteria. And he just didn't have ears to listen to anything that we had to say, like the fact that we live here,
Right.
because he was just determined to believe that I'm just going to flip this property because I'm a realtor. Meh. And then I'm just the lady who could go to the store and
The
get the
lady.
things. So that's enough
The
of that.
lady's mad
Let's
today.
stay.
The lady's mad today. You got to make sure you do what she says. The lady's mad. The lady's mad.
Yeah, but they were all bilingual, which was not fair.
Right.
Because then after I say something, then they'd be like, blah, 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 and they'd be saying all their things. And I know they're totally fucking talking smack on me. And it's like, you guys fucking suck. I'm going to punch you in the mouth.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
felt like.
I'm very supportive, of Mrs.
You just
Weedman.
thought it was funny. I think sometimes, like I
well,
know that you felt bad,
of course, but I had to make light
but
of it.
I'm sure sometimes you were laughing at my reaction to
Yeah,
them.
100%. I knew it was coming.
Oh, fuck.
I wasn't laughing. I wasn't
ready.
laughing at what they were saying. I was actually mad at what they were saying.
Yeah.
I was laughing because I knew
where I was gonna go.
because they didn't know who she was fucking. They were fucking with. You know what I'm saying? So,
I'll play into their fucking bullshit when they tell me dumb shit that's like, I'm sorry, but no. Like when the painter one time told me that they don't make oil-based paint anymore. I was like, oh, motherfucker, you just don't know. You don't know how many times I've been to the paint store very recently. They don't make oil-based paint anymore. Wow. Wow. Okay, so that kind of stuff,
they down talked her so much, thinking
Mm.
that she did not know what she was talking about. And all I know is that
Or,
Mrs. Weedman
here, take the
knows.
tools and you show me how you could do
and
the
you
tile.
could have.
Like, no, I was.
But you could have.
But I'm not. No, I mean, I'm not telling him. I was never telling him that I knew more than him.
But you could have.
But I knew what his guy was doing wasn't right.
Right. My Mrs.
So then he's like,
Weedman-
here, you show me. You have so much tile knowledge. You show me. I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no. Oh no. 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 We're not doing that.
There was one point
Oh
Mrs.
my God.
Weedman walked out of the room.
I did. I was like, you
scream-
fucking asshole. Motherfucker.
And I'm sitting in the room
I'm like,
laughing.
we are not playing that
I'm
game.
not laughing.
We're not doing that.
I'm not laughing
It's not happening.
at how Mrs. Weedman got talked to.
God.
I'm laughing at Mrs. Weedman cursing and yelling and screaming and fucking being mad at that person because I knew what was
I
coming.
just threw my hands in the air. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? You're really going to say that?
Because there was a point
Really?
where I was actually getting angry. And there was a point where I told Mrs. Weedman, do you want me to step in and let him have it? I was ready. I was
No.
ready to go to battle. And my kind of battle is not nice. Mrs. Weedman, all she has to do is flip my
I
switch.
just give you the look and I say, time.
Yeah.
Time.
That's
I
it.
give you what is it? The tap
Yeah.
in wrestling? What is
Yeah.
it?
The
I tap
you
you. I
tap
tap
in.
me.
Yeah.
Tap you in.
we tap hands.
We're dueling now.
She knows when it's time, and she knows when Mrs.
Double trouble.
when it's Mr. Weedman's time to step in, because I don't play nice.
I can hold my own.
I'm not as smart as Mrs. Weedman. I don't claim to ever be smarter than Mrs. Weedman.
Oh, I'm not
at
that
all.
smart
You're
either.
smarter than me. So, that says a lot. And but there's a time where Mrs. Weedman knows when the muscle needs to come out.
There's just a time where it's like, I'm just done with these fuckers. It's your time now.
And we had
And I sick the wild animal. Get them. Get them.
we
Get 'em.
rehabbed our old house about 11 years ago, right?
Oh my God.
And
Stories. Do we have stories?
we won't tell anymore. So
No,
we'll just
no.
tell the one. So Mrs. Weedman was the GC, well, hired a GC, but had very specific ways of doing things and how the house wanted to be done and blah, blah, blah. Well, this GC was giving her the runaround a lot and was a total bullshitter. Thinking,
AGC, again, who never comes to the job
right,
site,
never comes to the job site.
just phone calls.
Yes. So,
Like,
and Mrs. Weedman was at the house 98% of the time, making sure things got done correctly, making sure they were following what she wanted the house to be like. We're paying for it. Mrs. Weedman had a
and his guys were
vision.
on board with me.
Right.
Like, his framers, his drywall, like, everybody was cool
Right.
because he was never around. So they were just like, she's the GC.
Basically.
She's running the show.
They knew Mrs.
Yeah.
Weedman knew more than the GC did.
No, I didn't know. You keep saying that. I didn't know more. I knew what I wanted,
Right.
and I knew what I wanted was possible.
Right.
And the framers agreed and were willing to do these things. And the carpenters, everybody was willing to do all of these things because they were all possible. But they needed direction. And my contractor couldn't come to the job site because there were some things
Underlying
happening in
issues.
his personal life.
Yes, we won't talk about that. But so
Yeah.
about
But we didn't know that when we hired him.
we had just moved back in. We were out of the house for like 6 months, living with my mother-in-law. And there was a point where Mrs. Weedman called me and said, "I'm done. I need you to step in now. It's time." I said, "You sure?" She's like, "Yeah." So I called the contractor up, and he's trying to now talk to me in a tough guy way. No.
No.
That's not the you
That's
could
not
talk to
gonna
me
happen.
respectfully, you could talk, but when you try to act tough, that's just where I break, and I snapped, and I gave this dude a beating on the phone, and I think I scared the shit out of him because when he came to the house, 2 days later, he came up to me right away and said, "Are we good? Are we good? Are we okay?" And put his hand out.
Please tell me we're
Because
okay.
I gave him the eye of the
Like,
tiger,
you motherfucker.
and because you don't disrespect Mrs. Weedman. You just don't. Not in front of me, not ever in front of me or not in front of me, because if I find out you disrespect Mrs. Weedman, we're gonna have a problem. So this was the point where the tile work was being done in this new home we're in, and there was a point where do you want me to step in? I'm ready. and Mrs. Weedman goes, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I don't need you. I
Not
got
yet.
this.
Mhm.
So, but that's where we're at. The tile finally got done after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it was about the time that it was
Yeah.
supposed to.
It looks beautiful, Ms. Weedman. Nice work.
They just
They were slow.
I personally feel they undermanned the job
Right.
to save money. And then that set them behind. And then they rushed because now they were days behind and the guys are needed on another job. So then all of a sudden there's 5 guys working. Oh, gee, maybe there should have been 5 from the beginning and
Right.
it would have just been done on time. But no, let's blame the customer.
Right. So
Because I rushed. I don't know where that came from. I said, please do not use the word rushed. I do not want this job
Right.
rushed. Would I like to have my house for Christmas? Yes. But do I want you to rush to make that happen? No. So if it takes you 2 weeks, it takes you 2 weeks. Just do it right. I like things done right.
The
I like
first time.
straight lines. I
first
like
time.
symmetry. I like clean work. Skilled. That's all. You told me you could do all those things.
Yes. So basically, for the last 2.5 weeks, the house has been under construction, and we're still got more to come. So yeah, we're not done yet, and it's been interesting. And it's been fun, and we've lived in 2 rooms since last Thursday. We lived in, which is now going to be my future studio office, and the bathroom. And we have a back door from my studio, which is a little bonus room that's going to be Yuki's room out to her backyard. So we've had to go in and out that way all week.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
And to live in a small 10 by 12 room.
No, it's a little bigger than that.
10 by
No, it's like 12 by 15.
12 by 15. Okay. Still 12 by 15.
There's a difference.
That has a air mattress.
It's a studio apartment, kids.
Air
Everything.
mattress,
Mhm.
2 desks, Yuki's bed, Yuki's bowls, a closet with like some clothes laying in it because we don't have our clothes.
Suitcases.
A couple suitcases.
Dog toys
Dog
for
toys
a big
for
dog.
days, and Christmas presents on the floor.
Yeah.
And a makeshift like little office supplies,
little
a
cart.
lamp.
Oh my God.
This is what we've been
It's
living
nuts.
in. And we've
got some Christmas cards taped to the wall. That's our Christmas decor.
Yeah, we have no Christmas decor in the house up right now.
Well, we got a Christmas card.
We have Christmas
so
cards
thank you
up.
for those who
Yes,
sent us
who
Christmas
sent us Christmas
cards.
cards. Thank you so much. And we got some beautiful cards. And but it is very funny how like when we lived
This
in
has
this
been
house.
it for
No refrigerator.
2 weeks.
We've had
It's rough.
we've put our food outside where it's cold So when we have leftovers, it goes
Well, it's
outside.
a room.
Yeah,
A colder room.
colder room. So yeah, it's been interesting. No refrigerator.
It's a test. It's a test
Test of our to
of
see
our wit and
Yeah.
our willpower and our willingness to collaborate.
Yes. And we had a very our
Coexist.
dog is very pissed off too right now.
She is
She's
not
not
happy.
at
She
all.
at some points she
Yeah.
tries to find the hidden room.
Yeah, there
She'll
is that.
try to get into the closet, some big room is behind that door, and she tries to get between the mattress and the wall, maybe there's a tunnel out. Get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, she's going. So Mrs. Weedman came home
Mhm.
yesterday, and through the back door into where we're in the room we're staying at, and I'm sitting here starting to put the episode together, and my mind was just not in anything. She comes in, she goes, "Something's wrong." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." I said, I've had enough. I'm in the Popeye syndrome. It's all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. I need to get the fuck out of this room. I need to have my life back a little bit. I need my gym because I have a home gym that I built
You're
at the
I'm
old
just
house.
done. I'm done.
I'm done. I haven't had my vitamins because I can't find them. They're packed somewhere. I
You
can't
haven't had
make
your
my
smoothie, your
I haven't had my
magic
$80
potion
magic potion every day.
every day.
My whole
Not
life.
really
And Mrs.
$80,
Weedman
but
knows how I am. I'm a very regimented person. I'm disciplined. I do my shit every day to the T. I don't veer off very much.
I do not really operate that way.
No, but I do.
But yeah.
I have my regimen in the morning. I have my regimen in the evening. I have my regimen for research. It's just how I roll. I'm very, very I'm not saying I'm completely the best at organization, but I'm disciplined to do the things I have to do every day. Right?
Yes.
And my whole life has been fucking thrown to the loop.
Mm.
To the roof.
To the where?
To the roof.
What?
To somewhere. To the loof. I'm loofy.
To the wolves.
Yeah.
Thrown to the wolves. It's
So
where is it thrown
I
to? How's
had
that saying?
enough
Oh, no.
yesterday,
Nothing sounds right.
everybody. Enough. So I'm so glad the tile's done because we can start finally moving in. There you go. So,
thrown to the wolves. It is thrown to the wolves. So what did you say? The woof?
The woofs. We're loopy. But you know what, everybody?
Loopy.
We're still putting a show out every week. I was
like, really, Mr. Weedman? Really?
No choice.
Really? We have to record.
Yes.
Really? Because I don't have 50 things to do.
We recorded every week.
Okay.
We put a show out for you.
Our people are really important.
We are because we love you.
And here we are.
Yes. There's one thing I want to know.
But,
do you know the difference between a yam and a sweet potato? I was thinking about this the other day.
I get confused, honestly. I just think one is more orange and has kind of purpley skin. And one looks like a baked potato, but it's orange inside.
Most of the time, you're just buying a sweet potato.
Are they just the same?
No,
Oh.
They're not. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
They're
but it says yam or it says sweet potato.
Yeah, but most of the time
sometimes it says
when you're buying them in the cans at the grocery store, 95%
that says yams.
But 95% of the time, you're just getting a sweet potato.
What the fuck? Is one more expensive than the other?
I don't know. You make
Tell me
sweet
more.
potato pie.
Oh my God,
so
I
here's
do.
the difference between
good.
in most grocery stores when you see a tuber labeled yam, it's probably just a sweet potato in disguise.
I like tubers.
Botanically and scientifically, totally different plants though.
What?
The sweet potato comes from the morning glory family, the Lipomia batatas, whereas real yams are from a totally different gene, Dioscora, and are native places like Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean.
Whoa. That's
So,
a big difference.
big difference. But when you're buying them in the cans, a lot of times you're buying just sweet
It says
potato.
candied yams.
Yeah, and it's just sweet potato.
But if you buy 100%, oh no, you don't buy 100% sweet potato. It just says candied yams.
Which is
But it says sweet potatoes on
the
the
same
can.
can?
Hold on, I gotta look. Yes, it says sweet potatoes.
but
and that
yams
says
and sweet
candied
potatoes.
yams.
But they're both two different.
Let me see.
They're two different.
Canned sweet potatoes.
Mrs. Weedman makes a really good sweet potato
Oh, do I ever?
casserole, right? What'd you call
Okay, it says Princella sweet potatoes, right? Literally.
Right.
Hold
That's
on,
sweet
I'm waiting for
potatoes.
the image to load. It says Princella. And then there's a banner and it says real big sweet potatoes. And right under it, pretty big, cut yams in syrup. So no wonder why everybody's confused. It says sweet potatoes and then calls them cut yams in the next line. So what the fuck is it? Sweet potatoes or yams?
They're two different plants.
Oh my
different
God.
potatoes.
Well, but
But what?
explain this wrapper.
It's buzzwords. They be lying to you, Mrs. Weedman.
So which one is it? What's in the can?
Is it a
Let's see the
mix?
ingredients.
Is it a
Let's see.
mix between they
Ingredients.
put
Hold
candied
on.
yam and
That's
sweet
what I'm
potato?
looking at. Oh, where are the frickin' ingredients? I'll find oh, here. Ingredients. Sweet potatoes, water, and sugar. So then why does it say candied
Because
yams?
they lied to you, Mrs. Weedman, all these
Gosh.
years.
Cut yam sweet potatoes. Oh, because the cut yam is a potato and it's sweet in this can. That's what it's really saying. Seriously.
So next time you're at the store,
Cut yams in syrup
next time you're
are
at
sweet
this
potatoes.
next time you're at the store, though,
I'm gonna ask the produce
and you're
man.
doing
I'm gonna
your
go to the
potato
produce man with one of
casserole,
each and
you've
be
been
like,
lied to all these years.
"Which one is in the can?" That's what I'm gonna do. Tell me which one. I'm gonna bring a can and a sweet potato and a yam.
Have you
Be
been
like,
at an
"Which?"
international but go to an international market,
Yeah.
because that's where you'll find the difference. You'll
One
find that
time I
yam.
found canned sweet potatoes that weren't in syrup. They were in water.
Yeah, we gave them to Yuki too, and she loved them.
Yeah. So hard to find.
Yeah, they shouldn't take the syrup out of there. You can do your own
Sugar.
syrup, right?
Sugar.
So,
Wow.
go
Well,
to
how do we derail onto sweet potatoes?
because you're
You
gonna
brought
make
it up.
your sweet potato casserole
Oh.
so good,
Ugh.
you know?
Except for the one time when my sister almost went up in flames like the grandpa in the
Vacation, when they lit the
Christmas
Christmas
Vacation.
tree.
She the sweet potato she was watching the sweet potato casserole. The sweet potato it was the marshmallows on top were getting browned. Well, they ignited, and she opened the oven, and it was like a backdraft, and it went poof, and just lit
Singes your
her
eyebrows, right?
and everybody was just like, "Blah!" Somehow, that was all of our reaction because it seemed like she was okay. It just seemed very surprising. But she actually got singed, like,
Yeah,
lost her
her eyebrows. That's
eyebrows.
what I'm saying, she lost her eyebrows.
It was bad. But sweet potato casserole
It's
is
really good.
really good.
Oh, yeah. Ms. Weeman's got a good recipe for that, especially if you're fucking, like, just marshmallows and sweet
Sugar.
potatoes and sugar. It's very
Mm.
good. So, you ready to get the show started?
Let's do it.
All right. So, we've talked about this in the past, we talked about Ganjiers before, but they like to treat cannabis like a fine wine. Just like sommeliers, just like in the craft beer, you have the cicerones. I call them the chicharrones. You have cigar. I don't know what they're called, but got folks that talk about cigars, and it's kind of like a sommelier, a Ganjier, or a cicerone. I forgot what the cigars ones are called, but there's coffee baristas, right? That know all
Mhm.
about coffee, smell, flavor, where stuff is grown. So this is where cannabis is kind of needs to get to that next level here. So we're diving into something that's really leveling up how people think about cannabis quality worldwide, and that's about the Ganjiers. And you haven't heard the word yet, get ready. This is a cannabis equivalent of a sommelier, but for weed. And yeah, it's a big deal. So here's the vibe. As legalization spreads and dispensaries go from novelty to normal, people are finding themselves staring at a wall after wall of flower, concentrates, vape carts, edibles, and honestly, not knowing how to make sense of it all. THC percentages, marketing buzzwords, strains names that sound like comic book characters. It's a lot. And that's where the Ganjier steps in, trained up to be a cannabis quality expert with serious credentials. Think about wine sommeliers or coffee cuppers, people who you go to when you want expert guidance on taste, aroma, mouthfeel, overall experience. Ganjiers take the same idea, but for cannabis, they come out of a rigorous curriculum backed by industry vets, growers, extractors, historians, retailers, the kind of folks who've lived and breathed the plant for decades. The curriculum itself is next level. It's not just a quick online course. We're talking week studies, online modules, and a person training with multiple instructions who each bring different palette and perspective. So whether someone's all about the smooth smoke, the curing quality, the genetics, or the terpene profiles, those facets all get represented. It's huge because cannabis quality is way more than THC numbers. The Ganjiers are trained to teach the truth. One of the centerpieces of the whole program is the systematic assessment protocol, or SAP, basically a guided scorecard that walks you through how to evaluate flowers, stages, aroma, appearance, flavor, and experience. It's a big shift away from the old THC max obsession that still dominates a lot of dispensary shelves. Real connoisseurship means understanding nuance, territory, and the story behind the plant, not just how hard it'll knock you on Your ass.
Hmm.
And here's where it gets really interesting. For all of us who love the culture, Ganjiers aren't just certificate holders. They're becoming cannabis culture ambassadors, helping shape how the world talks about quality, how dispensaries educate customers, and how each brand thinks about product strategy, as I like to call it.
Mhm.
Some people are imagining bud bars at weddings with Ganjiers guiding guests on experiences, not just sales. That's wild cannabis culture evolution right there. Devices and consumption methods get in on the conversation too. Just like wine glass shapes what you taste and pour, the way you consume cannabis, say dry vaporization versus combustion, changes the sensory experience. Ganjier stressed this part of appreciating the plant is knowing how heat, air, delivery affect those delicate terpenes and cannabinoids that make each cultivar unique. And let's be real, the whole movement reflects something deeper. We're no longer just consuming weed, we're appreciating it, analyzing it, and building a shared language around quality and experience. That's how connoisseur culture grows. Ganjiers want cannabis to have a professional, respected, systematic conversation, not just what gets me highest the cheapest. So whether you're a casual smoker or a seasoned enthusiast or someone who about the craft, life, these ganjiers show where the industry is going towards education, sophistication, and experience that consistent from shop to shop, state to state. It's like turning every cannabis purchase into a little own journey of discovery. And that's something we should all be feeling. So let's keep on elevating your knowledge out there, your sesh, and your appreciation of the plant. And Mr. and Mrs. Weedman will be here with you on that journey. And we'd like to hear about it. So send us a message. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
So there's a huge difference um, in side effects in vaping, not vaporizing, vaping carts, vape carts, compared to smoking it,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yep. Today we're talking about a trend many listeners will recognize: vaping cannabis instead of smoking it, and what the actual side effects might be when you choose one method over the other, because popularity doesn't equal harmlessness. A recent piece from Lad Bible highlighted the way people use cannabis, vaping versus smoking. And it comes with distinct side effect profiles, and that they aren't just minor differences. The article focused on how those different delivery methods hit the body, especially the lungs and the nervous system. Let's start with why people vape cannabis in the first place. Many choose vaping because it's less harsh on the throat and lungs than smoking, and it's more discreet with less odor and visible smoke. That's backed up by general health sources noting fewer combustion products and lower irritants from vapor than smoke. But the science suggests it's not as simple as vaping is just safer. One significant study out of Johns Hopkins found that when infrequent users vaped cannabis at the same THC dose that others smoked it, the vape group reported stronger psychoactive effects, more intense highs, and more acute side effects like anxiety, paranoia, and nausea. They also showed greater impairment on reaction time and cognitive tasks. This suggests that vaping can deliver a larger dose of THC in the bloodstream more quickly than smoking. That's important because stronger effects can translate into a higher risk of adverse experiences, especially for those who are new to cannabis, trying it recreationally for the first time, or using potent concentrates. There's also respiratory risk to consider. A University of Michigan based study found that vaping cannabis was associated with more respiratory symptoms, like wheezing, dry cough, and indicators of lung irritation, than vaping nicotine or even smoking cannabis. The researchers cautioned this contradicts earlier beliefs that vaping could be less harmful, simply because there's no smoke. In addition, some scientific reviews raise concerns because many vape products contain additives, flavorings, and heavy metals that can release toxic chemicals when heated over time. These aerosols haven't been well studied long term, so the assumption that vapor equals safer is premature. At the same time, researchers emphasize we still lack long-term lung health data when comparing smoking versus vaped cannabis. Smoking anything, tobacco or cannabis, produces burnt particulate matter that's harmful over years of use. Vaping avoids combustion but introduces different exposures that may carry their own risks. So, where does this leave us from the body of evidence? Well, vaping can hit harder and faster than smoking, delivering more THC into the bloodstream and increasing short term effects and impairment. Respiratory symptoms may actually be more common with vaping cannabis than with smoking it or vaping nicotine. Long term health outcomes for either method remain unclear, especially given variability in products and use patterns. This isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a risk profile decision. Think about that.
Yeah.
If someone, I would say this to Mr. Weedman all the time because you converted to vaping nicotine
Oh, yeah.
many years ago.
Oh, yeah. For 10
And
years, I did it.
I always said that, because the local vape shop, they advertised that they were like a smoking cessation, advocacy program. Like they were a healthy product. And I would just say, like, how you're vaporizing something, it has oils in it. Oils and lungs probably aren't great. And then the product that's in there is filled with all sorts of chemicals. And then it tastes good and it's convenient and it doesn't interfere with or bother most people. So you can do it more frequently. So you're consuming probably more nicotine, more chemicals, and more irritants. And then there's no long term anything to tell you what this is going to do to your body. So it really, quite
Oh,
honestly, freaks me out. I'd rather see people smoke a cigarette, quite honestly.
that smoking a cigarette. When I you smoke a cigarette, I probably didn't smoke a cigarette again for another hour, sometimes 2
Right.
hours.
Right. You had to
I'd
go
smoke like, I'd
outside. You
smoke
had to
like
have
5 or
time. You had
I'd
to have
smoke,
10
yeah, I'd
minutes.
probably smoke 5 or 6,
Yeah.
7, maybe 10 a day, depending on the
I
day.
mean, people hang on to their vapes like a
When I
pacifier
vaped,
and
that
just
fucking thing never
puff on it.
came out of my
Yeah.
hand,
Yep.
ever, except when I went to bed. I mean, it was literally in my hand. I put it down if I had to write something down or work on the computer, and it would write it back,
Mhm.
like, everywhere I went. Even when you weren't supposed to vape inside, I still vaped.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere. I didn't
I know.
fucking care.
I know.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
pleasurable. I I and I can I don't know. I smoke a cigarette once a year still, just because I like a good Parliament Light. P-Funk is still the best fucking thing ever, if you smoke P-Funks. And but to vape, I could pick up that vape tomorrow and go through a vape a week like it was nothing again.
Mhm.
Like, not even fucking a blink in the eye, you know? But I see people doing it with THC vapes.
Yeah, and that's where I think,
They
like,
keep that in their hand fucking
well,
24/7
I
too.
don't think that people, I'm not saying everybody, newer consumers who aren't really familiar with how the THC will stack, and they're hitting it, like, they're saying that people are having the same like percentage of THC, but if someone's just puffing and puffing, like, if you go hit a joint, you're going to hit a couple of hits, maybe you're going to smoke half the joint or the whole joint. You know your tolerance, right? If you're a early person to the game, you're going to have one or two puffs and take a break. But I mean, even with smoking, if you go back very frequently and keep hitting that joint, you're going to stack and compound that high. Well, I don't think people realize it so much. Like early consumers, I don't think that they realize when they're puffing on that vape, it's different than nicotine. Like you're going to get that little high and it doesn't go away fast enough that you could hit the pen again in
Right,
15 minutes.
right.
So now after hitting the pen for, 2 hours, you're whacked.
Especially if you're smoking
Yeah.
a 90 or 96%
Yeah.
distillate vape, you're getting fucked up.
Yeah.
That's why this cannabis hyperkinesis syndrome is happening
Mhm.
so much to people, like we talked
They're
about in the last
over-consuming,
episode.
yeah.
Over, too much. I mean,
Yeah.
I see people with that vape, not just
It just
nicotine
doesn't
vape,
digest from it doesn't go through your
hitting it,
system
like, every
fast.
2 minutes. Like,
Right.
what
It's
I was
THC.
hanging out with somebody one time, I'm like, every, like, 10 minutes they were hitting this thing. I'm like, "Are you high?" They're like, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, can you still get high? You've hit that thing, eh, every 5 to 10 minutes, I see that thing in your fucking mouth. You're hitting how much what's the THC? Oh, it's like 88%. I'm like,
Like, whoa.
I mean, do you even get high anymore? you destroyed your endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. When you're taking in that much THC from
Mhm.
the time you wake up, from the time you go to bed, and you just have that thing in your mouth constantly, you destroyed what cannabis
Mhm.
is all about. I'm sorry. I love you out there. I will never judge anybody. You choose how you want to live your life. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just telling you, as a friend, you're destroying your endocannabinoid system. It wasn't meant to smoke fucking THC 24/7. I'm
I mean, there's
sorry.
people, like, with medical conditions that they need to have that much to get through a day
Right.
to get rid of pain or, all sort of cancers and things of that nature, but, like, if you're, like, just an everyday consumer and you've got a job and you've got responsibilities and you've got, a busy life and you're hitting the it's just I you're just over it's just you're I think for me, I'd be disappointed for you because you're not getting all the benefits. Like Mr. Weedman saying, you're like over processing or overworking your endocannabinoid system, so you're not reaping the benefits of cannabis anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's the fun? I mean, it's maybe you're still getting a little baked, or you're just trying to achieve that feeling of feeling baked because you're. But even at those levels, you could take like a 3-month tolerance break
Yeah.
probably,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and get
And get your
and
endocannabis system
reclaim it. Yeah,
back in shape, but
that's
it's
the
gonna
good thing
it may
about
even
it.
take longer, but it's just the point is you just don't need to do that to
Right.
yourself. It's just not where it comes to the point where cannabis is fun anymore.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Cannabis for me will always be fun. That's why
Mhm.
I started smoking cannabis because it was fun. I love socially smoking cannabis. I loved when I was out high with my friends, having a couple beers, going to clubs and
Mhm.
hanging out with Mrs. Weedman, smoking with friends, smoking with every night with Mrs. Weedman. We laugh and we have some jokes, and it's a mellow out time, but it's a time where we relax and let our hair down. Well, not me, but Miss Weedman, and just like have some just fun laughs because our days ended and all the responsibilities are done, and we're about to go to bed in a couple hours, and we're watching the news or TV, and we're just fucking sitting there busting each other's chops, and that's what cannabis to me is all about, and also helped me go to sleep. So I just feel bad for you out there. You still got more to read?
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't
sorry.
finish my article.
Sorry. We went on
We
a little
really got off
tangent.
we got off
Yeah.
track. So, anyway, we're back to this article talking about what's the healthier way to consume. So, it's not just a lifestyle choice. This is a risk profile decision, whether you wanna vape or you wanna smoke. If someone is switching from smoking cannabis to vaping because they've heard it's healthier, science thus far tells us it might reduce smoke-related irritation, but it could introduce new harms of its own. And of course, the safest option, health experts agree on, is avoiding inhalation altogether, with alternatives like edibles or tinctures, which come with their own onset times and effects to consider. So that's the latest on vaping versus smoking weed, and it's definitely, as you can see, a discussion that is still very much evolving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, there'll be more on this. We've been talking about this for fucking years.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been doing this show over 60, almost 7 years now. April on 4/20 this year, it'll be 2026, it'll be 7 years, and I don't know a time when we haven't talked about this,
Yeah.
probably within, like, maybe by episode 10 to 12, we started talking about vaping,
Mhm.
you know? "Do you
Mhm.
vape, bro?" That was one of
Yeah,
the
yeah, one of
episodes.
the early,
Yeah, that
early
was one of the early
episodes
episodes,
before I was on the
yeah, that
show.
was with Dov Boy and
Mhm.
T, and I think maybe Paulie was still there and Shoddy before they moved. But that was an early, early
Mm.
episode, so we've been talking about this for a very long time, and all the vape gate stories and all between the nickel coils and the e-pinene and the vitamin E acetate and all that shit that was in these vapes and finding out it was actually the nickel coils that were giving people popcorn lung, not the fucking stuff that was in there, and, I've always said you need to switch to ceramic coils, get rid of the nickel coils, and I know why you do it because it's cheaper, but you want your customers to live to the 100 so they keep on buying weed, don't you? Don't just so it's just like, you know, phew, please. Just protect yourself, everybody. Scientists reveal the real benefits and hidden risk of medical cannabis. We're getting scientific on this article. Science, science, science. But in a way that actually matters to our community. We've all heard the buzz about medical cannabis being a miracle for pain, sleep, anxiety, you name it. But what does actual science say about all that? Well, a major research review just dropped, and honestly, it's a stirring the pot a little bit, no pun intended. Researchers at UCLA Health Science looked over 2,500 studies published between 2010 and 2025. It's a ton of data. And they sifted through randomized clinical trials, meta analysis, and clinical guidelines to see where the real evidence stands. Here's the kicker: while public enthusiasm for cannabis and medicine is huge, the clinical evidence showing it's actually works is surprisingly narrow. This is from this article. That means that for many conditions, people think cannabis helps, like chronic pain, anxiety, insomnia. The science just isn't strong enough yet to back those claims. That doesn't mean it doesn't help some people in real life. It just means big clinical trials haven't clearly confirmed it yet. So, where is the evidence strongest? According to the review, the public that are really supported by controlled research are mostly tied to FDA approved cannabinoid medicines, not general cannabis flower or products. These include uses like reducing nausea and vomiting caused by chemotherapy, appetite stimulation and HIV/AIDS related weight loss, treating certain pediatric seizure disorders like Dravet and Lennox-Gastaut syndromes. Those are big, serious conditions where cannabinoids have been dialed in specific doses and formulations, and the data backs that up. Now, let's get into the risk. Because knowing both sides keeps it real, the review highlights long term use, especially in adolescents, may be linked with higher rates of psychotic symptoms and anxiety disorders when higher potency cannabis is involved. There's also an increased chance of cannabis use disorder. Nearly 30% of medical cannabis users in some studies meet the criteria for that. And daily inhalation of high potency products may be associated with cardiovascular risk like heart disease, heart attack, and stroke compared to less frequent use. That's parts important. It doesn't mean cannabis is universally dangerous, but it does mean context matters. Frequency, potency, age, health background, all of that plays into how your body and brain responds. Now, one of the big messages from the scientist: there's a gap between what people believe cannabis can do and what rigorous science has conclusively shown. That means more research is needed, more large scale, well controlled studies. The clinical community needs clearer guidance so doctors can talk honestly with patients about realistic expectations where cannabis might help and where evidence just isn't solid yet. And let me be clear, this isn't about hating on the plant or dismissing personal experiences. As people who live in this culture, we've all seen the stories: folks feeling relief from stress or pain. But science wants data. And right now, for most conditions, that data is still catching up with the hype. We all know as stoners, burners, and potheads what cannabis does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we want scientific data so the scientists and the fucking government, all the people that are against it, can finally say, now we know what the stoners, burners, and potheads have been doing for the last 2,000 years, and we understand why they love this plant so much and why there's angels in these leaves, because one day they'll learn from us and they'll listen. But until that happens, they have to do their research, they have to do their testing, they have to do all their and get what we all have known for the last 2,000 years. So, what do we walk away with today? Cannabis has real evidence-backed medical use, especially in specific serious conditions with controlled formulations. But for a lot of everyday uses people assume work, the science isn't robust enough yet to say definitely. And there's our potential risk, especially with potent products and frequent use, that deserves honest conversation between users and clinicians. So everybody out there, stay curious, right? Keep researching, stay informed, listen to not just the Weedman 420 Chronicles, but listen to other podcasters that talk scientific data, read articles, be knowledgeable. So when people come at you to say, oh, the study that we just read from UCLA said cannabis is bad. And there's a lot of following this one, stuff we've read. I have to be real with you all and always make sure I give you, the great, the exceptional, the fabulous stuff about cannabis. But I also have to make sure you guys hear some of the negative stuff that we're dealing with in this industry. So you all understand that we can fight the good fight every day for this plant. You have to go out there and be knowledgeable and learn and research and talk and sit and listen to conversations so you gain this knowledge. I was at a dispensary today listening to two bud tenders talk while I was talking to them, but I sat back down and I wanted to see what their knowledge was all about. And I know I can talk the talk, But I like to listen to people because then I take in that knowledge too. And maybe there's something I never heard of. So just always be real. Stay curious, stay informed, and as always, we'll keep you grounded in the facts. Okay? And all the people out there that are giving you the data and the facts. Okay? Remember that. And the vibes. We'll always bring our vibe.
We try.
That's right. So, all right, Mrs. Weedman, tell us a little bit about how cannabis access reduces suicide rates for older adults. And this is a new study suggests. See, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff.
Yep. Today's story comes from a Marijuana Moment report on a new working paper that suggests legal access to recreational marijuana may be linked to lower suicide rates among older adults, a finding that adds an interesting dimension to the ongoing debate about cannabis policy and public health. Researchers looked at monthly suicide data from U.S. states spanning more than 2 decades, from year 2000 through 2022, and compared trends in states that opened recreational cannabis dispensaries with those that did not. What they found was a modest yet statistically significant reduction in suicide rates among adults aged 45 and older in states where legal marijuana stores were actually operating. The effect appeared strongest among older men, who have historically had higher suicide rates than women. One hypothesis the authors mention is that this group is more likely to use cannabis to manage chronic pain, a known risk factor for suicide. Importantly, the pattern did not show up among younger adults, nor in states that had passed legalization laws, but had not yet opened retail outlets. That distinction suggests actual access to legal cannabis, not just the law itself, may be a key factor. The authors did not find evidence that cannabis access raised suicide rates, which counters a common concern among opponents of legalization that wider availability might worsen mental health outcomes, especially among young people. The study was conducted by public health economists and is published as a working paper via the National Bureau of Economic Research, meaning it hasn't yet gone through peer review but is in part of an established academic pipeline. The authors also took care to control for other factors that could influence suicide trends, like alcohol taxes, tobacco taxes, and opioid policy changes, to try to isolate the impact of recreational cannabis access. So, what might explain this association? One plausible mechanism, though not definitively proven in this paper, is that legal cannabis increases access to symptom relief for conditions linked to suicide risk, such as chronic pain, insomnia, and anxiety. Other research has documented that cannabis use among older adults is rising sharply, particularly among those with chronic health issues, and that many older adults are using cannabis for symptom management. But caution is still warranted in interpreting these findings. Because the study is correlational, it observes patterns in data over time. It can't definitively prove that legal marijuana access caused the drop in suicide rates. There are other complex social and economic forces at play, and researchers themselves note that further study is needed to explore the underlying mechanisms. Moreover, other research complicates the picture on cannabis and suicide more broadly. For example, some psychiatric studies have found associations between cannabis use and suicidal thoughts or behaviors in certain populations, though those relationships may be influenced by underlying factors like depression. Still, this new work adds to a growing body of evidence suggesting nuanced public health effects of cannabis legalization, not just on criminal justice outcomes or substance use patterns, but potentially on mental health outcomes in specific age groups. The takeaway is this: legal access to cannabis might be linked with modest reductions in suicide rates among older adults, especially those with chronic pain or health challenges. But researchers emphasize that we're still early in understanding these trends, and comprehensive peer reviewed studies will need to be happening to confirm and explain these associations. So, as we always say, we'll follow these stories and always bring you updates.
Do our best,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Do our best. You want to light that joint up?
Yeah, I do.
Political, state, and business news, everybody. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the news, the
The
news
news.
that's been going
The
on
news.
since last week when President Trump signed an executive order to reclassify marijuana by removing it from Schedule 1 and moving it to Schedule 3, officially kicking off a federal process that could ease research and business restrictions and recognize cannabis medical use. The change doesn't legalize recreational weed yet, but it's a huge policy shift that might open doors for research, banking, and some tax relief. Am I excited about this? I could say I'm just a little happy. Am I jumping out of my clothes and running down the streaking naked about this? Absolutely not. Now, if it was decriminalized, declassified, descheduled, totally illegal for home grow across the country, freeing the 40,000 prisoners across the United States for nonviolent cannabis crimes, banking relief,
All of that.
I can go on.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be streaking with weed leaves in front of my privates and then blocking the crack of my ass with my mask on and my cape.
I've never seen that before. I've never seen that.
But it's not. That's not where we're at. So,
Not
so
today.
you won't see Mr. Weedman streaking.
I might.
So the thing is, I'm happy that someone finally did something because the last 10 presidents or 5 presidents or the last whoever president said they were going to do something about it that hasn't done anything about it. Someone did something. Is it where we want it to be? No. But how this is all going to work, this is not just going to happen overnight. We're not going to it's got to go through a process. So how it kind of works is the process to reclassify a drug can take years, months, weeks, years, knowing this government, and requires some heavy lifting from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. That includes seeking input from the government agencies, the general public, and scientific groups. And I'm sure, the federal government, by putting reclassification into motion, puts itself at risk of lawsuits and court rulings too. So, it's going to be a hot minute, let's just say, before we see it descheduled. Okay? Still, can Trump do this without Congress? Yes, but with limits. Under the Controlled Substance Act, rescheduling does not require Congress. The authority sits with the Attorney General, typically delegated to the DEA with scientific input from the Health and Human Services. Trump cannot personally reschedule cannabis with a tweet or executive order alone. Hold on, smoke break.
I wish I could sing. I'd
But
give you some background music so you could enjoy.
you can do the do Jeopardy tune.
Do.
But he can direct the Justice Department to move the process forward and potentially bypass stalled administrative steps. Congress would only be required to fully legalization or descheduling, not rescheduling. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Pass it back to you, Mrs. Weedman, that
Thanks.
joint. So what does Schedule 3 actually mean? And we've talked about this in prior episodes, so this is going to be a little quick hit. Schedule 1 drugs are defined as having no accepted medical use. That's where cannabis still sits alongside heroin. Schedule 3 drugs are recognized as having a medical value but remain controlled. Examples include ketamine, anabolic steroids, and certain prescription painkillers, like Tylenol 3 with codeine. Moving cannabis to Schedule 3 would be a formal federal acknowledgement of medical use. It would not legalize cannabis. So that's good, right? At least they're recognizing it as medical use, which how all of these states started. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing because we will start getting more research and we start getting some funded research from the federal government because they want to know, did we actually do the right thing? Right? So, does this legalize cannabis? Unfortunately, no. cannabis would still be federally illegal. State legal markets would continue to exist in the gray zone. Interstate commerce would remain prohibited. Federal criminal laws would still apply. Rescheduling changes classification, not prohibition. What happens to dispensaries and state markets? Nothing changes overnight. States would still continue running their own regulated systems. Dispensaries would not suddenly shut down. Licenses would not vanish. The core contradiction remains: state legal cannabis would still conflict with federal law. Rescheduling does not resolve that tension, it only shifts it. She's free. She's gone. Sorry, everybody. We opened the gate up. We had a gate blocking so you couldn't leave the room. We finally are able to walk on the tile without shoes, and we opened the gate and we started the show. And I watched her walk out that gate, and she is
I don't know where she
fucking somewhere in this house,
is.
happy that she's free, laying on the cold tile right
Mhm,
now,
mhm.
happy that she is not in this fucking
Oh,
room right now where she's been since last
she's quiet
Wednesday. Oh yeah,
wherever she is.
yeah, she's taking a nice nappy nap.
Mhm.
So, sorry. Uh, will this help small local businesses and growers? It could, but it's not guaranteed. The biggest potential benefits is taxes. As long as cannabis is Scheduled 1 or 2, businesses are subject to IRS Rule 280E, which I heard they were arguing in the Oval Office for a while that they wanted it as Schedule 2, and Trump said, no, we're putting it at Schedule 3. I'll talk about that in the next episode, which blocks normal deductions like rent, payroll, and utilities. That has crushed many small operators. If cannabis moves to Schedule 3, the 280E would no longer apply. That only could be a lifeline. That alone could be a lifeline for independent dispensaries and growers at the same time. Rescheduling does not fix licensing cost, access to capital, or consolidation. Bigger companies still have structural advantages. Is this a big pharma or big cannabis takeover? Not automatically. Okay? There was a lot of people talking about big pharma is going to take over. Big pharma is going to take over. I'm not saying it might not happen. I'm just saying not automatically. Rescheduling could make it easier for pharmaceutical companies to develop FDA-approved cannabinoid medicines like we have now. So that does not mean they suddenly control flower, dispensaries, or state markets. Still, critics are right to be cautious. In the U.S., open markets tend to reward scale, capital, and lobbying power. Legalization opens that door. Regulation decides who gets the keys. Who gets the keys to this wave that we're going to see happening? So, will cannabis be sold to Walmart?
Hmm.
No. But Walmart's family does own like 70 fucking 5 dispensaries in Missouri, or maybe 30, 50. They'll own the whole market soon. So their family got into the weed business. It's not Walmart per se, but it's Walmart-owned, family-owned
Wow.
dispensaries. Oh, yeah. They own a lot. Rescheduling does not put dispensary weed on retail shelves. Any FDA-approved cannabis-derived medicines would move through pharmacy channels, not big box retail. State legal cannabis would continue operating separately. Will this change drug testing? No. Most drug tests look for THC metabolites, not drug schedules. Employers can still test. Federal and DOT regulated jobs will still follow their own rules unless those policies change. Does this affect home grow? No. Rescheduling does not create a federal right to grow cannabis at home. Home cultivation remains governed by state law. Will seed clones or genetics become illegal? There is no indication of that. Rescheduling does not target seeds or genetics directly, but that new hemp bill, that's the one you got to be careful about. Enforcement and interpretation matter more than theory. Does this stop arrests or fix criminal justice? No. Unfortunately not. Rescheduling does not decriminalize cannabis, erase records, or stop arrests. Those outcomes require legislation. So, is this progress or a problem? Could be a little bit of both. Rescheduling would be a meaningful shift. Acknowledging medical use matters. Ending the 280E would help real businesses survive. But it leaves prohibition largely intact. That's why some advocates see progress, while others worry it could harden the system under a different name. Rescheduling is movement. It is not freedom. This moment deserves attention, though. Not celebration or panic. If cannabis moves to Schedule 3, it will ease some pressure and raise new questions. The future of cannabis will be decided by the rules that follow. All those rules are still unwritten. And remember, rescheduling is not justice. It does not help the 40,000 prisoners locked up for nonviolent cannabis crimes, unfortunately. But here's what I'm going to say. Listen to your old Mr. Weedman here. Been around the block 2, 3 times. Seen shit come and go. I'm going to tell you this. Every state, except for one, because they voted on both and they both won, but then their governor pulled it away, and that was the state of South Dakota. Where, remember, Mrs. Weedman, South Dakota had the vote, and they voted for rec and medical at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the governor
said no.
We're just going to leave it medical. So anyway, besides that one state, every state started as medical. Every state started as medical cannabis, right? And then a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, like California went medical in 1996, and it took them till what, 2018 to go recreational, or 17? Can't remember the exact date. But it took them that long to go recreational. So you have to understand, everything in this fucking world is a fucking process. A process. A long, drawn-out process. Look how long it's taken to get off the Schedule 1 that Nixon put on when he started the schedules in 1970. Look how long it took. And in 1937, with the Marijuana Tax Act started by Henry Anslinger, look how long it took. And in 1906, when they outlawed marijuana, look how long it's taken. And before that, it was all good. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a process. And in this fucking state of the world, where the United States is supposed to be free, freedom, it ain't free.
Yeah.
Nothing in this world is free, everybody, except for the air you breathe. And if they could charge you for that, they probably would.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you right now, we've been patient. We're going to have to be patient longer. We're going to have to prove that this plant has a purpose to the government to finally get it decriminalized, just like alcohol, just like tobacco. And that might take another 5 years. It might take 2 years. It might take another 50 years. But we will prove this plant reigns supreme, because it was given to us. And there's what in those leaves, Mrs. Weedman?
Angels.
You got it.
That's what you say.
Now over to you, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah. Back to me for some more political, state, and business news. Connecticut weed prices keep dropping. In November, they hit around $7.94 per gram, cheaper than before, but still about double what folks pay in Massachusetts. Crazy, right? Even with lower prices, sales haven't spiked, which tells us consumers might still be chasing cheaper deals or crossing borders. Connecticut's market is cooling, but the price gap with Massachusetts stays real. New Jersey lawmakers are moving a bill to give cannabis industry workers real labor protection, closing a gap where bud tenders and growers haven't had the same rights as other private sector employees. It would let the state mediate disputes, ban unfair practices, and even fine employers up to $5,000 a day for violations. Looks like the Garden State cannabis workers might finally get their workplace rights in gear.
Oh.
Yeah. Marijuana arrests in New Jersey have plummeted since voters legalized adult recreational weed, from over 23,000 arrests in 2020 to about just 500. Whoa, big difference in 2024, making up less than 2% of current drug arrests. That's a serious shift in law enforcement stats and one less thing to worry about at your next New Jersey sesh. Congress is pushing a kids' online safety bill meant to keep minors safe, but it could also make advertising legal cannabis products online way trickier for business in legal states. Platforms might have to block ads. like they don't already, if they know a minor could see them. And that could put marketers and dispensaries in a real head scratch moment. Like it's not hard enough already? Yeah, tell me about it. Michigan's legal cannabis sales slipped in November, dropping to about $259.7 million, down roughly 6% from last year. Adult use bulk made up a bulk of that, while medical sales fell even more. Excess supply and lower prices are part of that story. Consumers pay less, but total dollars ticked downward. That's weed economics doing its thing. New York's cannabis world just hit a new plot twist. A Fulton County pot processor. Which way is it?
Processor.
Processor. Sometimes you say a word and it doesn't sound right. And then you keep saying it and you're like, what? Is that even a word? What is that? Anyway, a Fulton County pot processor processor sued the state to block the mandatory seed to sale tracking system, saying it's unconstitutional and costing small businesses big time. A judge might pause enforcement just for that company while the fight unfolds. So we have more New York weed drama unfolding, and we are here for it. Hmm. Congress is eyeing a bill to let folks in federally assisted public housing use marijuana without losing their home. Amen to that. As long as they follow their state's weed laws. No more eviction fears for puffing legally, where it's allowed. Well, the federal law is slowly catching up, and this bill is a positive one. That's for sure. Maryland lawmakers are bringing back a bill in 2026 to decriminalize drug paraphernalia, stuff that currently can land you jail time and fines. Supporters say it'll help people access cleaner supplies, help them get treatment, and even boost drug testing safety on the streets. This bill almost passed before, and now it's back in session. Alabama's slow medical cannabis rollout just hit a new beat. Dozens of doctors have taken the required online course so they can soon recommend medical cannabis once products are finally available. They've been stuck waiting because dispensary licenses lagged. But now, with a few dispensary licenses approved, the dream of doctor backed relief might actually bloom soon. Yay. President Trump signed an order to reclassify marijuana to Schedule 3, and Colorado leaders are applauding it as overdue federal sense is finally happening. Governor Jared Polis says it'll help research, banking, and business, but some groups are worried it might send the wrong message about weed's risks to kids. Well, there's mixed vibes in the Rockies. Mm. The U.S. cannabis industry is seeing fewer active business licenses, especially cultivation permits. They're dropping big time, down nearly a quarter in the last couple of years as growers exit the market. Retail licenses dipped too, and new license applications are slowing. It's not doom, just industry maturing and caution as markets settle and investors become more selective. Missouri lawmakers are pushing to restrict hemp derived THC products like gummies, drinks, vapes, and creams by making them follow marijuana style licensing and regulation. No more easy gas station psychoactive stuff. They say loopholes let high THC hemp fly under the radar. So they want tighter oversight by spring of 2026. It's state policies meeting weed policy, Missouri style. That's the latest news, and now it's back over to Mr. Weedman, and Yuki's back.
Yeah, she's back.
Yuki, where have you been? Where were you? Come here, girl.
She got some roaming going
Yeah,
on.
she did.
Yeah. Florida's marijuana legalization crew just hit the Florida Supreme Court where the recreational pot proposal after collecting tons of signatures, kicking off the judicial review to see if it clears the legal hurdles before hitting the 2026 ballot. If the court says yes, voters could finally decide on legal weed next fall, Sunshine State style. Trump's move to reschedule marijuana lit up the weed world fast. Some lawmakers and industry folks are cheering, saying it boosts research, fixes tax pain, and adds legitimacies. Others aren't impressed, calling it a half toke, not full legalization. Bottom line, it's progress, but the cannabis crowd's still asking, cool. Now finish the fucking job. Trump pushes to reschedule marijuana to Schedule 3 isn't just federal paperwork. Lawmakers in Pennsylvania and Tennessee say it could energize state legalization efforts, giving hesitant legislators political cover to back reform and show voters their stance has shifted. It doesn't legalize it outright, but it's a green light like flicker that might help legalization take off state by state. We'll see if it happens also in Indiana, because that governor said if it ever goes federally legal. But he didn't say rescheduled. But we'll see. Could be tempting. So, Tennessee's flipping the script on the hemp-derived cannabinoid licensing starting January 1st, 2026. The program moves from the Department of Agriculture to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. That means new rules and different vibe for CBD oils, edibles, tinctures, topicals, and more. If you're hustling hemp products, get those docs in before the deadline so you don't get caught in the shuffle. Nearly half of college students have tried CBD products, with 29% using them monthly or chill out, handle anxiety, stress, and even help sleep, according to Big University of Georgia survey. Edibles like gummies are especially popular, usually because a friend offered them. It's CBD culture bumping into campus life. Love it. Love that college students are finding CBD as a product to help them relax, stress relief, sleep, handle anxiety through the hard days of school,
Mhm.
you know, instead of always reaching for something else like liquor and booze.
Mhm.
They're using CBD for
Yep.
the non-psychoactive to get it from the neck down,
Yep.
and help with the head up. So I love it. Good for you. Arizona might revisit its weed legalization. A petition to drive aims to put a repeal of adult recreational cannabis on the 2026 ballot, arguing the current law hasn't delivered on promise like strict marketing limits. Organizers need around 255,949 ballot signatures by July 1st to qualify. It's legalization drama hitting the ballot again. Arizona sesh or veto session. Now, this is the fourth state that's trying to repeal. And Mrs. Weedman, when she comes up next, has a nice article all about why this is going on. So, a crew of Republican state attorneys general is throwing shade at Trump's plan to reschedule weed, saying cannabis should stay a Schedule 1 drug because, in their view, rescheduling could harm citizen safety. They argue science and experience back keeping it strict, even as others call the move overdue reform. Classic policy beef, the weed edition. Alabama regulators just approved a temporary hemp product rule, even though the very law sponsor says it goes too far. The new responsible consumable hemp product program sets warnings, fees, and tests for consumables, despite Rep. Andy Witt arguing it isn't the original legislation. It's hemp politics, wrestling hemp policy, Alabama style. Roll Tide. Big news out of Howard County, Maryland. Firefighters will soon be allowed to use medical cannabis off duty as long as they don't spark it up within 12 hours of the shift and show a valid medical card to HR. Union and county leaders say it's a win for the
Hmm.
for the first responder, health without compromising safety.
I think that's pretty
I think it's
fair.
fucking great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Michigan's weed scene is heading into foggy territory with 24% wholesale marijuana tax kicking in January 1st to fund road repairs. Yeah, okay.
Mm.
On top of existing taxes, dispensaries and customers worry higher costs could hit prices and even push people back to the black market. Well, while shops stock up and brace for impact. I saw some fucking stores online over in Michigan over that Buchanan. They were showing some videos. The lines are out the fucking door right now. I mean, just packed. Well,
Just
you got till January 1st.
yeah, so everyone's just buying, like,
Right.
a bulk,
Oh,
like a year's supply.
buying whatever you can. Man, if I
They
was
have
a
limits on how much you can
uh
buy, but it's high,
yeah, it's
super
crazy
high,
high. I mean, we bought 2,400 milligrams of fucking gummies when we were
for,
there,
like,
and
$200 or something crazy.
no, 50. It
$50?
was
Come
20.
on.
It was 200 milligrams per bag. It was 6 bags for 25
Yeah,
bucks.
that's right. Wow.
Too bad we live too far away from the Michigan line now, because we
Yeah.
should make one more trip before the first. um, Trump's rescheduling move is getting bipartisan applause, but lawmakers say it should be just the first puff. Next up, banking access sentencing reform, a full legalization to fix tax pain, help research and right the war on drug harms. It's like saying nice start before we drop the full playlist. Mississippi medical cannabis advocates want higher potency limits, bumping flower from 30 to 40% THC, dropping caps on concentrates, and a right to try options so more patients can access treatment without being stuck on strict qualifying list. They also want easier renewals and broader doctor discretion to help folks who actually need it. Powerful vibes for 2026. Come on, Mississippi. How do you spell Mississippi, Ms. Weedman?
MISSISSIPPI.
There you go.
How's that?
Massachusetts campaign to kill the
Pretty good,
adult
right?
use cannabis market advances towards 2026 ballot. Brr, brr,
Uh,
brr. And Mrs. Weeman gets a gold star. You want to know
mhm.
why?
Why?
Because you won the spelling bee. You spelled Mississippi.
Hey.
Remember, you used to get gold stars when you won something. You get it
Mhm.
on, they put it on,
Yes,
and
yes.
this star wouldn't even last throughout the
And
day.
then you felt shame if
Yeah.
everyone else had stars and you
So if
didn't.
you got a gold star, you won. If you got a silver, you came in second. Then just for participating, you got colored stars.
Yeah, right.
And if you didn't do anything, you didn't get a
And then
star.
if you talked too much, they took them away. I know that.
Oh, all right. Just as I mentioned a minute ago about Arizona, Ms. Weeman is going to talk about why are states trying to repeal legal cannabis programs in 2026? The legalization backlash. The legalization backlash is coming to states that legalized marijuana in the past decade. I am so fucking dumbfounded on this. And when I saw that Reginald Reefer wrote about this, because I've been mentioning all, from Maine to Massachusetts to Ohio, now Arizona. We've been talking about this for a hot minute
A
now.
minute.
And I've been waiting for somebody to give their opinion on it and write a little about it. And of course, Reginald, the mofo Reefer, just
Yep.
hitting it hard. Tell us about Ms. Weeman.
Well, there's an interesting and politically charged trend emerging as we head into 2026. Some states aren't just debating new legalization laws, they're openly trying to repeal existing legal cannabis programs. That's right. After years of growth in both policy and markets, opponents are pivoting from stopping legalization to rolling it back. Let's unpack what's behind this backlash. At the heart of this story are ballot initiatives and legislative maneuvers in several states aimed at undoing or significantly restricting adult use cannabis laws that voters approved years ago. In Massachusetts, for example, a campaign called An Act to Restore a Sensible Marijuana Policy has collected enough signatures to potentially put a repeal measure on the November 2026 ballot. If approved, it would end adult use sales, ban home cultivation, and dramatically reshape the market that voters first legalized in 2016. What the fuck? Across New England and Maine, a similar initiative is underway with organizers officially cleared to begin gathering signatures to end that state's adult use program entirely. These repeal efforts aren't happening in a vacuum. Advocacy groups like Smart Approaches to Marijuana and various public safety coalitions have shifted tactics. Rather than just arguing against new legalization at the onset, they're framing their campaigns around issues such as public health, youth protection, impaired driving, addiction concerns, and regulatory shortcomings. Behind these messages is a political strategy. Use the ballot box, the very mechanism that brought legalization to life in many states, to send reform in reverse. Some proponents argue that markets have grown too quickly, or inequities in regulation and enforcement have gone unaddressed, even when public opinion polls continue to show strong support for legalization. Another facet of backlash is legislative resistance. In states like Ohio, Nebraska, and South Dakota, lawmakers have proposed bills to scale back voter approved legalization laws or tighten restrictions on everything from home grow to retail licensing, even though a majority of voters support those measures originally. Critics see these moves as political pushback that disregards the will of the electorate. This debate highlights a broader tension in the cannabis policy landscape. On one hand, legalization has delivered billions in tax revenue, created thousands of jobs, and substantially reduced arrests for possession. On the other hand, some opponents argue that problems like persistent illicit markets, regulatory gaps, public health impacts, and commercialization excesses undermine the original goals of reform. It's worth noting that this level of organized rollback effort is relatively new. Historically, legalization battles have been about winning access, from Colorado's historic 2012 vote to more recent successes in places like New York and Virginia. But now you're seeing that advocacy movements in opposition are amplifying their organizing at the state's level to try and reverse course or impose tougher controls.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah. Cannabis policy is far from settled. Even in states with long standing adult use markets, question about regulatory performance, social impact, and political support are fueling organized efforts to revisit or even repeal legalization. 2026 could be a pivotal year, not just for new cannabis laws, but also for current legalized markets that are evaluated and defended by voters and policymakers alike. This is such a mess and just seems like we're moving in the wrong direction.
Brutal. Brutal. I
Yeah.
mean, like, here's the thing that in mostly all the states, the voters voted for this.
Hmm.
And in the states that they voted for, they won, right? Most of the time. Florida, they lost, so it stayed as medical. You try again. But in the states that voted for this and you won, Hill and Illinois was different. You didn't go to the voters box for this one. It was done by the state, the House and the Senate and the governor. And so we had no say in that, which is kind of bullshit. But in the states that did put it on the ballot and voted and you won, and now they're trying to repeal that from you, just proves to me that you don't matter. You don't matter. Your vote doesn't matter. Never forget that the government works for the people. The people don't work for the government. Remember that. Be kind of simple. Kind of simple. International news. In Chile's recent presidential election, poll workers literally found a joint, seeds, and protest notes inside a ballot. Not once, but for the third time at the same voting place. Messages like, no more prisoners for growing, show activists mixing politics and pot to push drug law reform. It's grassroots guerrilla weed activism dropping hot cues right into the ballot box. Straight from Auckland, New Zealand, Medicinal Cannabis Council, Industry Day 2025 brought docs, growers, policymakers, and patients together under one roof for connection, collabs, real talk on regulation, access, compliance, and where Kiwi cannabis is headed. It's kicked off with traditional Marie, welcome, and kept rolling with policy briefings and clinical breakouts. Weed meets worldwide wisdom. Also in New Zealand, the government just scrapped the license requirements for industrial hemp, meaning farmers can grow and handle hemp without jumping through red tape hoops if it stays low THC. New Zealand cabinet says this will help the hemp industry grow and make regs more practical and proportionate. Less paperwork, more plant. Kiwi hemp vibes are rising. Over in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, the government decided to legalize cannabis cultivation and regulate the hashish industry, worth a whopping 600 billion annually. Officials are forming committees to set up licensing, grow zones, and processing rules so farmers can legally grow for medical and industrial use, and the state can actually benefit instead of watching cash go black market. Send some to Mr. Weedman, please. The UAE just passed a law allowing industrial hemp for medical products and other uses like textiles and construction, but no personal or recreational use allowed. Importing, growing, or selling hemp still needs to be licensed in strict controls, and anything that might get you high stays off limits. It's like opening a weed adjacent door, but keeping the key under lock and some strict rules. All right, get this. Wiz Khalifa just got sentenced to 9 months in jail in Romania after smoking cannabis on stage during a concert, which we
Whoa.
talked about a while ago. So, yep, live weed vibes at peak concert energy aren't exactly legal everywhere, and Romanian courts aren't playing. So while we're here chilling in legal zones, remember some places still take the puff seriously. I heard he's going to try to repeal it or, who knows, maybe give some money to the government and,
Hmm.
Figure it out. Maybe do a little why you don't smoke cannabis in Romania tour or
Yeah.
something. instead of
Make it
going
up to them.
instead of going to Romanian jail for 9 months. Oof.
Oof, that
So,
sounds rough.
yeah. Canada's legal weed sales slipped in October to about 451.7 million, down from September, mainly because British Columbia sales plunged over 50% that month, while most of other provinces still held steadily. Ontario, Alberta, and Quebec kept things afloat, but BC's big drop dragged the national numbers into the red. It's a reminder that weed markets can get wild. In La Paz, Bolivia, there used to be a famous spot called Pipe Beach, park bench where folks turned into a communal smoke station where students, professionals, and everyday tokers gathered to pass the joint and vibes together. It wasn't just seating, it was culture. Renovations wiped it out, and now locals still miss that shared ritual like a lost friend. Yeah, man, that's fucked up. Put the bench back in Bolivia.
Mhm.
Jamaica is giving the U.S. marijuana rescheduling move a cautious high five, welcoming the decision to lower cannabis federal classification as a sign the world's staying loosener on the ganja front. Officials say it could help research, banking, and cross border business down the line. Even if full legalization still isn't there yet, Jamaica's watching closely. Hopefully, we sent them some weed, though. Hopefully, Canada did,
Mhm.
because they're going to run out and they're going to be some pissed off
Yeah.
Rastafarians, man. I don't want to get them mad at me. Send them some weed. Um, so, 1 in 3 Americans pregame with cannabis before family holiday gatherings.
This is pretty funny, actually.
Survey finds.
Yeah, this is some serious
It's some
data.
serious shit. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
As we sail straight into the holiday season, a new survey suggests that for a surprising number of Americans, cannabis is now part of the pre family gathering ritual, right alongside or even ahead of traditional holiday libations. A poll released this week by the Freeman Recovery Center found that about 1 in 3 adults in the U.S. say they pregame with weed before attending family celebrations. I don't know. Is that really a good thing? It's telling, maybe.
Yep.
That's a pretty striking headline, and it speaks to how cannabis has become intertwined with American social life in unexpected ways. Here's what the data shows. Roughly 50% of respondents said they pregame before family holiday gatherings. Of those, 51% use alcohol as their go to choice, which isn't exactly surprising. But cannabis comes in at 31%, meaning nearly 1 in 3 Americans are now choosing to light up before sitting down for the holiday spread. Another 12% even reported using psychedelics. Isn't that funny? Before these events. Could you imagine using
Microdose some shrooms,
having some
baby.
shrooms and then
Just a
going to
microdose. Yeah.
like
Hell
the
yeah.
Christmas gathering at when like there's presents being like thrown around and like everybody's tearing at stuff.
Oh,
Could you
man.
imagine?
All the colors. Hell yeah. I can
Be like,
imagine.
whoa, everybody stop
I
moving.
can imagine.
The age breakdown reveals some cultural flavor. 43% of Gen Z and millennials reported cannabis in their pregame routine, a higher share than the general adult population. That age skewed pattern aligns with broader usage trends showing younger adults are more open to cannabis than older cohorts. The survey also looked at people with a history of substance use. Among this group, rates were even higher, with 68% using alcohol. Doesn't this say a history of substance use? That it kind of implied to me that they didn't use anymore, but 68% are getting toasty before a family event. 50% use cannabis and 26%, holy cow, use psychedelics as part of their pre holiday ritual. Wow. There's a lot going on behind these numbers. The Freeman Recovery Center framed the survey around understanding how holiday stress, from family obligations to financial pressures, intersects with substance use. Their findings suggest that many people are not just socializing with cannabis, they're using it to decompress, to cope, or just to set a mental tone before walking in the door. That's not entirely surprising when you consider the broader context of cannabis acceptance in the U.S. According to a 2023 Pew Research poll, about more than half of American adults have used cannabis at some point, and nearly 1 in 4 reported using it in the past year. a reflection of the normalization of the plant in everyday life. There's also a cultural piece that's been bubbling up around the holidays for years, the cousin walk. Yep, we've talked about it, right?
Yes, we have.
It's a tongue in cheek term for a moment during Thanksgiving or other big family gatherings when younger adults step outside for a walk and return a bit elevated. Mainstream media outlets have picked up on this tradition recently, noting how cannabis use at holiday meals has moved from niche to widely recognized in many communities. On one hand, the data highlights how normalized cannabis use has become, even in settings that were once strictly alcohol centric. On the other hand, it opens up a conversation about how adults are managing holiday stress and whether substances are being used to prepare for family time rather than just to celebrate it. Well, yeah, I bet there's a mix of that. Whether you call it a coping mechanism, a social lubricant, or just part of your holiday traditions, the takeaway from this survey is clear. Cannabis now plays a role in how many Americans approach major family gatherings. And that's a trend that's probably worth talking about at your own dinner table this year. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
good
that's fun.
stuff.
That's fun.
Good stuff. Um, Timothy Chalamet. That's how you pronounce his name,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
He's been in like almost every movie lately. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like so many movies. He's doing a new one, right? With the uh where's that singer's name?
I don't
I was
know
gonna
which
start
one.
singing the song and I can't remember. Uh
Oh, Chris Cornell.
no, no, no,
No.
no, no. The one you and your sister went and saw,
Oh, Barry Manilow?
no, the other one.
What?
They play the song at the bar all the time. Oh god, I can't remember his name. I can't believe it. I'm so stoned. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy.
I
Where do we
don't know.
begin?
Yeah, da, da, da,
Yeah.
da,
What's the
da.
name?
That's not Barry Manilow.
No!
Sweet Caroline,
Caroline, da,
bam,
da,
bam,
da.
bam. Good times never feel so good.
So
So
good,
good,
so
so
good.
good.
What's his name?
Ah, da, 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 da.
Will you look it up?
What am
Please.
I gonna look? Oh,
Look it
Sweet
up.
Caroline.
Yeah, look who
Oh
sung
my
it.
God,
I
who
cannot
is?
believe we forget. I mean, it's on every fucking
Oh
bar. I've heard it my whole
God.
entire life, and I can't.
Neil
Neil Diamond, thank you.
Diamond.
So
Yes,
anyway, because I was
yes,
thinking
yes.
Timothy he's playing
Yes,
Neil
he
Diamond.
is.
So, but also he's in Dune. But actually, he meets up and he does a hip hop song that I saw, and a remix of SD Kids 4 Raws rapping about lighting 4 Raws, a nod to a classic rolling paper and helping squash wild internet rumors. He was a mysterious masked rapper. It's unexpected, funny, and honestly kind of awesome seeing an A-list actor drop bars about weed vibes. It's actually kind of cool. It was actually not bad. I thought, I'm like, this is gonna fucking suck. The beat was really good. He can hold
Yeah?
some. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'm not gonna say he's the fucking best rapper of time.
But he
I
was
mean,
alright.
he was
He's
alright. He
alright.
was alright, Spider.
He's
So,
alright.
but I was talking to you earlier about this, and I was like, between Timothy Chalamet
Yes.
and Jeremy Allen White,
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, like, of today's actors, we
Mhm.
grew up with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt,
Mhm.
like the time of true, like, leading male
Yeah.
actors that are like very
Johnny
good
Depp.
looking. Johnny Depp, yeah, very
Yeah.
good looking,
Mhm.
prominent roles. They're in fucking everything
Yep.
now. Timothy Chalamet reminds
They're
me
like
of
the
Tom
next gen.
Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next gen the next Tom Cruise, and Jeremy Allen White is the next Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
The kind of what we
Something
talked
like
about
that,
earlier.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of compared them to those two, like
Mhm.
good actors, winning awards, playing in big
Big,
time
big
fucking
roles.
roles.
Yeah.
Where we watched these as kids. I mean, we started watching Jeremy Allen White on fucking Shameless,
Yeah.
and Timothy Chalamet on some of the early, our Shawty loves Timothy Chalamet. I mean, just like probably
Oh,
can
yeah.
name every movie that dude was in. So, but yeah, it's funny though. So check out that hip hop. It's kind of just like okay. So I just caught it the other day, and I thought I'd mention it. So, oh man, Christmas time is
Mhm.
over. The presents put away, and we're going into a new year, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah. Can you believe it? This
20
year flew by. It
these
really went
these
fast.
last 2 weeks I wish flew by.
Yeah.
I actually kinda did because it's over now, and, but 2025 was a good year.
It was a good year.
I'm thankful for 2025, I kept my promise to Mrs. Weedman before the year ended, didn't I? My
Yep.
pinky swear.
Yep.
I did.
Yep.
I kept my pinky swear, everybody. I made a pinky swear, and I held it in 2025. So, but it was a good year. It wasn't. Is it the greatest year ever? It was a good year. I'm blessed. I have favor in my life. I have a great and beautiful wife. I have two amazing kids. I have a fucking fantastic dog. I have a good job. I live in a great country. What else can go wrong? Blessed with a home that we're rebuilding and working hard to get it, every day. I couldn't ask for any. I mean, I'm blessed and I'm loved and I'm happy. And I hope 2025, this all leads into a good 2026. And I hope you all out there, wherever you're at in your life, hopefully 2026 is as good as 2025, if not better. And hopefully your life is filled with blessings and favor and moving forward in your life, whatever your plans are going to be. And don't forget, most people fuck up their goals in the first 24 hours when they write their New Year's resolutions. So don't worry about it at all. It's bullshit anyway. So just write some shit down and just try to succeed at it, whether it happens or not. Just rewrite them every year. So don't get all fucking panic stricken about goals. Goals are meant to be broken one way or another, whether it's good, bad, or you fuck it up or you finish it and complete it. Just try again next year. So that's what I do every year. I always try again, right?
That's right.
So, Miss Weedman, you got anything to say?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I'm eternally optimistic. I'm very realistic within that calling myself eternally optimistic. there's a lot of there's a lot of not I understand the gray area, but I like reality, I like reality. But I'm an idea person and I'm a creative and my head is full of a lot of ideas. And
I
um
hear him all the time.
yeah, Mr. Weedmaster here. I mean, some of them are pretty
Some
fucking
are
good.
fucking great. I am not gonna deny that.
um but I guess I tend to have the capability of always finding a silver lining. There's always good takeaway of things. And even in years of hardship and in years of struggle, there's growth that comes from that. There is hope that comes from that. There is like kind of rebirthing and lightness that can come from that if you can look at it, like stand back, be objective and really kind of open your awareness to life instead of just going through it. Don't be so task oriented, live in the moment, live in the present. Life goes really fast. Take things in. Think about things a little bit more. Be more intentional and seek and try to find those things that really bring you joy. Is there the perfect job? Is there the perfect place? Is there the perfect this or that? Probably not. Find something that brings you some satisfaction in your free time if you can't find that satisfaction in your work time. Because there has to be a means to an end. We have to have a job. We don't always like what we're doing, but we need the income because life is really hard and life is really expensive and life has a lot of things that you have to get through. And there's always another wave of something that comes when you feel like you're just getting ahead. That's just the cycle of life. So try to try to find out who you are and find your purpose and somehow nurture that. Find a place, a space, a time in your week, if it can't be every day, and nurture the things that bring you happiness. Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's being in a space. It can be very simple. It can be standing out in your backyard, uninterrupted, feeling the earth below your bare feet for 5 minutes a day. And you could feel better about yourself. I mean, there's simplicity. There's really simple ways to live in a really complex world.
Oh yeah.
Find those and find you and make 2026 better than anything. Because you can.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah.
Thanks for that little
Sure.
little motivational talk,
Sure.
everybody. I hope you had a wonderful 2025. This is our last episode for 2025. We're looking forward to banging them out in 2026 and give it to you all. We love you out there. Love you, Mrs. Weedman.
Love you, Mr. Weedman.
Here's to 2026. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.